Being a theater person, I require a prop.
So much for the footlights.
Won't you do that?
Yes, I will now do what Gary so eloquently referred to as some sort of theatrical reading.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Was Hamlet some sort of sketch on Saturday Night Live? Was the
he
Korean
was.
War some sort of conflict and not a war? I think not. Don't misunderestimate. Don't misunderestimate it. He said so eloquently. There's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Thank you, Andre. I'll have the veal piccata. This is the story of a man. A man who is pining for his deceased wife, Lenore. This is the story of that man. And he was haunted by 3 spirits. Well, actually, it was more like one spirit in the form of a demon raven, but let's not get our stories confused. Think back. This is the story of a man and a demon raven and his fears. A man, a demon raven, and his fears and his longing for Lenore. A man, a demon raven, and his fears and his longing for Lenore. And a dog. We don't need the dog. Just a man, the demon raven, say it with me, his fears, and his longing for Lenore. That's all a man needs.
No dog?
Yeah. And a dog.
No dog?
No dog.
Don't need the dog.
Don't need the dog.
Think back, old TV show, or old movie. I give you Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as someone gently rapping on my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Distinctly I do remember it was in a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books a crease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to the still beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, that I scarcely thought I'd heard you. Here, I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, fearing, doubting dreams no mortal ever dared dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, with all my soul within me burning. Soon I heard a tapping, something louder than before. Surely, said I, surely there is something at my window lattice. Let me see what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let me be still a moment, and this mystery explore. It is the wind, and nothing more. Open here, I flung the shutter, and then, with many a flirt and flutter, in stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least abeyance made he, and not 1 minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mien of lord and lady he perched himself upon my chamber door, above the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling with my sad fancy into smiling, but with grave and stern decorum of his countenance he wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is, from that night Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly foul discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning and little relevance it bore. For we cannot help but agreeing that no living human being has ever yet been blessed at seeing a bird above his chamber door, a bird or beast on the sculptured bust above the chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, still sitting lonely on that placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul from out that one word did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, and on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. The bird said, nevermore. Startled at this stillness so broken by such a reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only socket sore, caught from some unhappy master who, unmerciful disaster, followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy bore, of nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushion in front of the bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself into leaking fancy into fancy, thinking of what this ominous bird of yore, what grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. Thus I sat, engaged in guessing, not a syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight would adore. But whose velvet lining, with the lamplight brooding o'er, she shall rest. Nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed by some unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the toppled floor. Wretch, I cried, Thy God hath lent thee, these angels, they have sent thee respite and nepenthe from the memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind repenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempter tossed thee here ashore. Desolate yet undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home and horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm and Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, by this soul within me laden, if there is in some distant Aden, that it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Then be that word our sign of parting, bird or friend, I shriek, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on that pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seemings of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.
Oh, there he is. Good show, Steve. Thank you.